Oh my gosh, I feel like the lighting is really bad because there's a window behind me, but I put so much effort just into trying to prop this up that I'm not gonna change anything. Maybe I can put a light on actually. Maybe the light would help. Um, anyway, today's video is going to be slightly different. I want to discuss just sort of how the struggle of being a single mom and a depressed and anxious mom, because I feel like there are so many videos out there where moms record motivational things and just appear to have all of their shit together, and the reality is I feel like most of us don't. And on my best days, I go to bed still feeling pretty negatively. So I just wanted to talk about that because I don't know, for the past few months I've just talked about pregnancy and expecting another baby, but I haven't really talked about the struggle I already have with my 3-year-old. She turns 3 next month. And I don't know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and just like how to get motivation when you're in a slump. And I feel like any depressed mothers out there will know what I'm talking about when I say a slump. And by a slump, I mean, as moms, we have these goals in our head of keeping our house clean and being able to sit down on the floor and give our child that sort of one-on-one interaction and feel enthused about it and not like you're being dragged around the house to play games that you don't want to participate in. And for me, the reality is that I'm probably enthused less than 10% of the time with my interaction with my 3-year-old. And by that, I don't mean like I don't like talking to my 3-year-old. Of course I do. I love my 3-year-old. But what I mean is that I just have this feeling of just restlessness when I sit down and try to play with her, because she's at that developmental stage where she wants to play with all these little figurines and she wants to do this back and forth conversation with people and imaginative play, and she wants me to be like, and Mr. Tom said, and I'm just like, when you're depressed as a mom, it's so hard to do that. It's so hard to put on a happy face and move the little characters around and talk, and I don't know, just to do these certain interactive activities that toddlers just love to do. I always sneeze every time I film a video and I'm like, don't sneeze, don't sneeze. Anyway, like, let me just put a disclaimer and like explain, like, I know in my last video I was saying that I was in a really good place in my life, in my relationship, and feeling really happy and peaceful. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I was in that place and I still am in that place in a lot of ways, but when you're like me, or you have bipolar, or you're just an emotional person, you can kind of just change in the span of a second and just go from being okay to just not being okay. And that's how it goes for me. I'll be like very motivated, very enthused, and then suddenly it's just all thrown out the window and I feel like crap. And that's how it was. I was feeling very positive last week and over the weekend, and then my daughter came back on Monday morning from her dad's, and I noticed a very drastic behavioral change. And I'm not trying to blame her dad or anything on this video. I'm just saying, like, when my daughter came back on Monday, her behavior was totally different to how it was on Friday, and I encountered a lot of tantrums and fluctuations with her, and sometimes that sort of stuff triggers my depression. I'm not trying to like blame my toddler either and be like, her meltdowns make me depressed, but I think the reality is for a lot of parents that you feel a lot of depression when your kid struggles emotionally, and I've been feeling that way because it's really hard to not feel guilt. It's really hard to not blame yourself and feel like you're not doing a good enough job, because if you're doing a good enough job, why is your toddler acting this way? But you know, the reality is toddlers they're all over the place too, just like us. And it's not either of our faults. So, yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about being in a slump and how the fuck do you get out of a slump. I had been very, very motivated. I'd been cleaning a lot and I'd been putting my kitchen to bed every night. It was one of my goals to, always go to sleep with a clean kitchen. No matter how tired I am, just clean the kitchen so that when I wake up in the morning, even if everything else is wrong, my kitchen's clean. And I'd been doing that. And I'd been keeping on top of the housework. And I'm not telling you like everything's falling apart and it's crazy. Like, things are still, relatively clean. But it's just like, these slumps are like, you just like get in this routine every day where you do things in a certain order, you feel like you've accomplished stuff, and then you just feel like you can't fucking do anything. And that's how it feels. I just sort of woke up today and I just feel frustrated at everything. Depressed by everything, unsatisfied in most ways, and just like washing the dishes just feels like this horrible chore, and it shouldn't. I mean, I can't say washing the dishes is great, but usually I just kind of get on with it. And I don't know. It's really hard to pinpoint why I'm feeling that way, and I think it's just like I've been very exhausted the past 2 days. My baby girl has been having a lot of meltdowns, and I've been very, very tired and struggling to sit down and play one-on-one with her, and then she's been more bored as a result of that and had more meltdowns, and then I've gone to bed blaming myself and feeling like shit. And I always do that. I always blame myself when there's a struggle with the behavior, and I don't know. I know it's going to be even harder when my newborn gets here because I'm going to have even less time to play with my current toddler. And I'm just in a situation which I don't even want to explain, but it's just really hard to get out and have her interact with lots and lots of people. And I try to get her out on one play date a week, but it's still hard. I take her out to the playground, but the playground I go to doesn't have a lot of kids, and I don't have a car, so it's hard to take her to other places. And I just want to get out of that slump, and I want to be able to sit down and play with her and focus. But it's just really hard to focus when your head is just all over the place. Anyway, I need to get myself out of this slump, and there's some things that I do to get out of the slumps normally. So I just want to give some of you mamas some tips, some hacks, and talk about what I do. So normally, when I'm in those slumps where I just feel depressed, I've had a rough day with my kid, they go to bed, and I just look at the house, and I sigh with distress that things are messy, but then I'm so exhausted, I don't want to clean it up. So then I lay down, and then I feel even worse about the mess. I'm even more frustrated about it, and I want to read, but I can't focus. I want to write, but I'm too tired, and I'm annoyed at everyone and everything, and every little remark makes me want to cry. So normally, when I'm like that, what I tend to do is I tell myself that it's okay to feel like that. It's not abnormal, it doesn't make you crazy, and we're gonna get through it. Then after I've had a little talk with myself, I say, look, this is the time now, we're gonna just spend, 30 minutes even, maybe even 10, depending on how tired you are. Set a timer, and we're just gonna clean up as much as we can in that time period. So now that I'm actually 30 weeks pregnant, I set a timer for 15 minutes, and what I normally do is put on some music, clean for those 15 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and then do another 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes on for an hour and a half, sometimes just half an hour, depending on how much mess is built up. I usually only have to do, 30 to 45 minutes. Then, once I've cleaned up the mess, at least that's off my plate. And then what I normally do is I'll light a candle, and I will make myself a nice cup of tea or a hot chocolate, and I'll sit down and I'll just let thoughts come to me naturally and try to journal that out. Sometimes journaling can be hard. It's almost like the more complaints and problems you have to write, the harder it is to write about it, compared to when things are easier. And I struggle a lot to journal when I'm struggling. But, I find that if I journal for just 10-15 minutes, I usually feel a little bit better, and I have less of an inclination to just blur everything out on the person that walks it through the door next. So after the cleaning, I'll journal for a little bit, and then, if I have not showered earlier that day, sometimes I'll have a nice relaxing shower, use some of my favorite body products, body lotions, do some lip gloss and stuff, brush my hair out. And then I'll usually lay down and just, either watch something on TV or try to read a book. And mostly, the most important thing is to try and get an early night. And usually, I then wake up feeling a little bit more fresh, and it just gives me another opportunity to get back on track. And, I try to clean, throughout the day, and I don't know. I try really hard to turn my phone off, and just take some time to focus on my kid one-on-one. At the moment, I'm just so pregnant, it's very hard to sit on the ground and play and do imaginative play, and I kind of feel guilty. I just find the imaginative play very, very hard. It's very hard for me to act out as a certain character and do it for a long time. But I try to do at least 3 different toys with her per day, and 10 to 15 minutes of reading or coloring, and I try to take her to the playground. Even though I'm just sitting there watching her, I know she appreciates it. So we try to do at least 1 outing per day, go out somewhere. And yeah, I don't know. This video is probably the most boring thing ever, but I just want to be real with you guys and be I have days too where I feel like crap and I feel really depressed. Today was one of those days. Yeah, I took my daughter to the playground this morning, but we were having a difficult morning, and she was crying a lot about a lot of different things, and then I felt very guilty, even though I did nothing wrong. And then she didn't nap during the day, and she only just went to bed pretty early, and I don't know, she was so tired by the time it was bedtime that it was one of those nights where I couldn't get her to brush her teeth. We didn't do a nice bedtime story and a cuddle. She just climbed in her bed and fell fast asleep. And I feel worse on those days because I like to try and have a good routine before bed and say goodnight to her and everything, but it was just one of those days. So I don't know, tomorrow's another day. I feel like you can just see through this video my exhaustion. My eyes are dark and everything, but yeah, so I hope that this video motivates someone, helps someone. I'm gonna try and let this video motivate me, because now I've had one of those days. I'm about to set my timer and do the things that I just talked to you about, the whole cleaning, then journaling, and just getting an early night. So thanks if you watched, and I'll be back soon with another pregnancy update. Bye.